I don't know Angry Birds.
Angry Birds is just a very addictive game on the iPad.
Oh, I don't know this
Yeah,
one. Uh-oh.
I said to my wife yesterday, I think I might have a problem with Angry Birds.
What an endorsement, man. Wow. Joining us today, Kevin Bacon. Kevin, 6 years since I started Culture Catch, and you were my second victim.
Was I really?
Yeah. David Kep and then you.
Right.
And the great thing was...
Everybody in the hood.
Yeah, I just like, okay, do you live in the neighborhood? Do you know? And I remember, you going podcasting, because I didn't even know what it was. And now everything's just video webcasting. So we kind of moved past the podcasting world, and everything's online. And we were talking off camera, like, now there's shows, like you did live from Daryl's house, Hall & Oates, Daryl Hall, and how that's become like a big phenomenon. He's built up an audience via the web. So there's this blur, like our kids don't know the distinction. That just to them it's content.
Yeah, it's just content. And actually one of the biggest things that happened recently was there was a television series with Kevin Spacey and David Fincher. And it's a type of show that everybody would die to have, whether it be Showtime or HBO or A&E or AMC or whatever. And they sold it to Netflix.
Wow.
And, I think that was I think people will look back at that as, sort of a seminal moment in terms of, where content is going to be watched and how we're gonna get it.
And then you get into the whole marketing aspect. You just finished an indie, or you're promoting an indie movie, Super. How you can use the internet to build a groundswell, where in traditional markets maybe you don't have the P&A to really bombard traditional media. You can build this groundswell. Just picking the right niche markets on the internet or using Twitter. Are you doing tweets and all that?
I don't tweet, no, but I do remember the first time I started, and it's history is speeding up so much now, but I remember the first time I started doing interviews after you do your, promoting a movie, you do your regular television and your print interviews, and then they would send these kind of geeky guys in, and it would be like for web content. I'd be like, what? Who the fuck is going to watch this? I mean,
Right.
Really, it's just some guy with a camera, and you're thinking this is not going to go anywhere. And that has definitely shifted, especially with movies that you mentioned like Super, where that's the kind of audience that you want to build, and that's the kind of appreciation that you want to try to get. And again, there's going to be times when people will be able to make movies and put them on the web, and it won't really necessarily be about being in a theater. I mean, I personally feel that there still is, I don't care how big your home theater is and your flat screen TV, and you make your own popcorn and the seats are really comfortable and stuff like that. There's still something about going out to the movies that is never going to go away as far as I'm concerned. It's the same thing with rock and roll. I mean, you can have the most amazing sound systems, but if you want to go see a show, you're not going to get this in home in your living room. So I mean, I think that that's always going to be there, whether or not the theaters, which is sort of coming up now, start to create their own content that they have exclusively, so that if you want to go see something, you're going to have to go to a theater to do it.
Right.
I mean, recently there was a live broadcast of, I can't remember, I think it was a classical piece that was coordinated to be in these theaters all across the country, and it was huge. It sold out. I mean, tons of people, and made a lot of money on it.
Right. Yeah, you go to the Ziegfeld Theater in New York, which is just one of the old school. There's nothing like it. I was telling my son, we were watching Independence Day on TV the other day, and I said, your mother and I, this is before you were born, went to see this movie at midnight at the Ziegfeld. And it didn't matter the movie was good or bad, it was that experience, that collective hive experience. It was midnight, you're in New York, you're in a big long line. I'm like, why am I here? And then you get in, you go, wow, what a great popcorn moment. But it's a memory that I'll always have.
Yeah.
And you talk to people, probably yourself included, when you were young, you had those movie moments where you go, wow, that's what I want to do, or this inspired me. It's not the same inspiration looking at your
No,
iPhone
it's
going,
not.
oh yeah, that's what I want to do.
It's not. With me, it was the Ziegfeld again. My buddy John Lafayette and I'll never forget, opening weekend, Apocalypse Now. And, you know, sitting down in that theater, and when the choppers started flying around our heads, I was like, I don't, this is really good, and I don't think it's just the drugs. I mean, it was really quite an experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I saw it as well. I mean, those cinematic moments can't be replicated at home, you know, unless maybe you have Spielberg's home system. You might have a soundstage or something with it.
But I also think that it's not just having it. I think it's the fact that you're sharing it with that group of people. You know what I mean? I think.
You know, have you noticed with all of this new technology and everything, you know, are you in more demand or less demand? There's more opportunities for you, less money. What play has that been for you personally as an actor?
Career-wise?
Yeah.
I don't think that the technology has really affected it one way or the other that I can really think. I mean, careers have peaks and valleys, and you know, I think that pretty much from the beginning, I had in my mind that I was going to be in this for the long haul. It wasn't something that I was trying. It wasn't something that I'm going to give it a year, and I'll stay in New York for a year, and I'll see how it goes. You know, if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to Philly. This was never a thing. I was like, this is it. I'm an actor. If I'm a waiter for the rest of my life, which I was for about 4 years, I'm still going to be an actor.
Right.
I'll be an actor who's a waiter, you know. And there's been ups and downs, and things go up and down and all around, and you know. I mean, the only thing I would say is that I don't think there's so much as from a technology standpoint, but the studios tend to make less films. So if you're talking about studio films, it seems to be less and less of them that are being made. And there was more when I started out, sort of mid-range budgets.
Like $20 million
yeah,
range?
$20 million range, where you could do either a romantic comedy or an action thing or a cop thing or you know whatever, and that those are fewer and far between. There's comic books, you know, and fantasy, you know, that you spend $200 million on, and then there's things like you know Super that you spend $2 million on. So
that was the budget, $2 million for Super?
I don't know, something in there. It's low.
Amazing cast. You know, let's talk about that for a minute because you know I'm looking at the cast. I'm going, wow. All right. Was that shot with cannons and stuff, or was it shot on? I mean, it looked. You know,
they shot
PD 150s. I mean, it doesn't.
I think it was red, maybe.
Oh, they shot it on the red.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But it has that street look to it.
It might have been 16. I totally forget.
Could be 16.
It could be 16. Yeah. I'm not sure. But yeah, it was low, and you know. I just thought it was kind of fun.
It's a genre movie.
Genre movie, yeah. It's very just a.
It's dark.
Dark, cool story.
Yeah.
The director was a guy who I liked his film Slither, which was a horror movie, and I liked that kind of world. But it was all sort of tongue in cheek, had a sense of humor. And I remember going with my son. One of the things that we kind of bonded on was horror movies when he was younger. And we were just digging this movie, and then, I read this script, and in fact, I although I haven't never been confirmed this with him, I believe that what happened was Jean-Claude Van Damme fell out. And so, how often do you get a chance to jump in for Jean-Claude Van Damme? and
you're working with one of the great horror actors as your sidekick, Michael.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who was in
Henry.
Henry, the Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, Michael Walker.
Yeah.
And Rainn Wilson, is fantastic. Ellen Page and Liv Tyler. None of them had I worked with before. And, it's one of those things where I never know exactly where I'm going to land, but it was kind of like, here's sort of a fun part. It's only 3-4 days, Shreveport, Louisiana. What am I doing, 2 weeks from now? Let's go.
Yeah.
You don't, I've never made my decisions based on feeling like a film or a role or something was somehow beneath me in some sort of way. You know what I mean? I never think about the size of the role. I don't think about the size of the budget. I don't think about the size of my salary. If something kind of feels cool and I like the elements of it, I'm there. And I like James, and it was fun.
Now you also have the luxury of being able to play music when you have downtime, if you have any. I don't know. Being a family guy and juggling all these careers, you and your brother, have done really well for yourself.
Yeah, I love the music.
How much time a day do you devote to it? Do you practice every day? Do you write songs every other day?
I try to play a little bit every day. Now, my songwriting has, actually, I just wrote a song, but I was kind of feeling like it was coming in waves. And I'm not one of those writers who says, okay, I'm going to spend 2 hours if I've got nothing. You know what I mean? So sometimes I just look at it, and I just think, is there
a song in there?
Hello? Is there anything in there? Anybody home? And nothing happens.
Right.
And then I get on a wave. I mean, the last record that we did came out of like a very, very kind of explosion of just songwriting. I was just writing and writing and writing and writing. My brother was writing a little bit, but not as much. And now he seems to be writing more than me. And I mean, if you could say, this is when they come. If you knew that, then you would create those kind of situations, artificially. But for me, it's kind of like I don't write from hooks. So in other words, I don't sit around and go, my heart's like a wheel. Okay, I gotta write.
You got a lyric hook.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Sure.
I write from just sort of like experiences and something. Something goes wrong, write a song. That's kind of
yeah, that's it.
That's what it is.
Well, the Nashville guys, and your brother spent time in Nashville.
Yeah.
They look at it as a job. 9
Sure.
to 5.
Sure.
They're in those little cubbies, and
Right.
they got a piano and a guitar, and they're
Right.
throwing it down. I'm like, God bless them. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe that's the problem with some of the Nashville songwriting, because they've lost the human element, where they're looking for the inspiration.
Yeah, and then they write some amazing.
And then they write songs that kill, and you go,
kill.
God, I wish I could write that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's different. I was reading a book recently about Carole King and Jerry Goffin, and her whole, coming from that world where they would just get together and they
The Brill Building.
go over the Brill Building and sit
God.
there, and it was like going to the office, packing up a lunch bag and writing "Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow." I mean, it's just it's incredible.
Yeah. And then you have Keith Richards. Did you read that book?
I did read that book.
That's a fun book.
It is a good book. I don't want to be too much of a one of those like rockophile. I'm going to read any piece of shit book that comes out of some guy that had a hit record. But that book is fantastic. I gotta say,
that's a page turner.
it really is.
Yeah.
It's great. And I had a really recently, one of the most fun experiences was I went up to see McCartney at the Apollo.
Wow.
And sitting in front of me were Keith and Ron Wood.
Wow.
And so to watch the Stones watching a Beatle was
cool.
like, singing along and bopping their heads to old Beatles songs. It was pretty intense.
That's special. That's
Yeah,
a special moment.
It was cool.
Any theater projects?
Not right now, no. I'm just looking for the next thing.
And then music.
And playing,
Yeah.
we got, I'm packing my dogs into the car and driving them across country and stopping in Kansas City for a show in a couple weeks, and then we're coming back here. We got something in Connecticut and Vermont, and then we're going back out to California. So we got some stuff.
Yeah, and we got to get you and your brother on the show. But people have to see you guys live at Daryl's house. That's such a great, fun show.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Daryl. You guys,
there's a lot of great episodes on there.
And you guys killed on it. It was great.
Thanks.
Kevin, thanks a lot
All right,
for.
thanks, man.
We'll see you in the hood.
Pleasure.
Dusty Wright, Kevin Bacon.